Are you tired of constantly feeling like you're the one doing all the chasing? What if I told you that the secret to making someone miss you isn't about being clingy or trying harder? It's about something far simpler and far more powerful: mastering emotional detachment. You see, in a world where everyone is seeking validation and approval, the ones who have the most power are those who don't need it. It's not about running after people, begging for their attention or affection. It's about becoming so grounded in yourself that you become magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because you've learned to stand firm in your own worth. Stick around, because today we're diving into the timeless Stoic principles that will not only help you understand why some people seem to always have others longing for their presence, but show you how you can be that person too. The first step in mastering the art of making someone miss you is understanding the power of emotional detachment. This doesn't mean you should shut yourself off from emotions or become cold and indifferent to the people around you. What it means is that you stop relying on others for your emotional stability. The Stoics understood that emotions are often unpredictable, and trying to control or manipulate them can lead to unnecessary stress and suffering. By detaching yourself from the constant need for validation or approval, you reclaim your peace. Imagine for a moment that you're in a relationship, whether with a friend, a partner, or even a colleague. If you're constantly seeking their attention, approval, or affection, you are, in a way, giving away your power. You're allowing their actions or inactions to dictate how you feel. But when you learn to detach emotionally, you stop depending on others to determine your worth. Instead, your emotional state is driven by your own mindset and choices. The key to making someone miss you, then, is not in constantly being available or chasing after them when they seem distant. It's about allowing space for them to realize your value. When you stop chasing, you stop lowering your own value in their eyes. They start to notice your absence because it feels different. It's a subtle shift, but it's profound. By detaching emotionally, you give them the opportunity to miss your presence, not because you've been distant or cold, but because you've let go of the need to be constantly needed. The Stoics practiced this emotional independence in all aspects of life. Marcus Aurelius, for example, ruled with the understanding that his emotions should not govern his actions. In his meditations, he often reflects on the importance of detaching from external events, whether they were successes or failures. He knew that to maintain inner peace, he couldn't let his emotional well-being be dependent on things he couldn't control. When you apply this same approach to your relationships, you'll find that people begin to respect you more. They'll start to see you as someone who is steady, unshakable, and it's that unshakable presence that makes them miss you when you're not around. They'll begin to realize that what they took for granted, the security of knowing you're always there, isn't something they can expect on their terms. Your absence becomes a reminder of the value you bring. The second key principle in making someone miss you is self-sufficiency. The Stoics believed that true freedom and strength come from within, not from relying on others. This idea is rooted in the concept of autarky, which means self-sufficiency or being content with what you have within yourself. When you are self-sufficient, you are not dependent on the presence, approval, or attention of others to feel whole. This creates a powerful sense of inner peace and stability. Think about it. When you don't rely on others for your happiness, you become infinitely more attractive. People are drawn to those who are complete in themselves, who don't need to seek external validation. When you can stand on your own 2 feet, emotionally, mentally, and even financially, you show that you are strong enough to thrive without anyone else's help. This naturally sparks admiration and respect from others. The Stoics didn't shy away from this idea. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, often wrote about the importance of cultivating self-sufficiency. He understood that external circumstances, including relationships, could change, but if you built your inner strength, you would never be shaken. A person who has cultivated this kind of strength becomes far less dependent on others' opinions or actions. They don't need anyone's presence to feel whole, and that sense of wholeness is incredibly magnetic. When you can look at yourself in the mirror and feel content, when you no longer feel the need to seek approval or affirmation from anyone, others will naturally begin to take notice. They'll be intrigued by your calm, grounded nature. They'll wonder how you seem to be so centered, so unbothered by what others think. This curiosity will draw them in, and they'll start to miss your presence when you're not around, simply because you're someone who doesn't need them to complete you. Instead, you are a whole, fulfilled person in your own right. This is the kind of person people long for. Not the one who is constantly seeking reassurance, but the one who knows their own worth, who can thrive independently. And when you create that kind of emotional self-sufficiency, others will recognize it and begin to miss it when it's gone. It's in the absence of need that people find themselves wanting to be closer to you. The third Stoic principle that will help you make someone miss you is mastering your emotions. The Stoics believe that while we cannot control the events that happen in our lives, we can control how we respond to them. This is a crucial concept when it comes to relationships. Emotional mastery means that you don't let your feelings dictate your actions. You don't let moments of anger, frustration, or sadness cloud your judgment or drive your decisions. Instead, you respond calmly, rationally, and with purpose. Think of the last time someone hurt you. Maybe it was a misunderstanding, a comment that stung, or a slight that made you feel unappreciated. How did you react? Did you lash out in anger, or did you pause, breathe, and assess the situation with clarity? The Stoics would argue that the emotional response you choose in these moments is key to maintaining your integrity and strength. By not giving in to impulsive emotions, you allow yourself to rise above the situation and remain composed. This emotional steadiness is incredibly attractive to others. When you are able to stay calm in the face of adversity, others take notice. They see that you are not easily rattled, that you have control over yourself. People are naturally drawn to those who are emotionally stable because they know that no matter what happens, this person will not be swept away by their feelings. There's something incredibly compelling about someone who can stand firm in the midst of emotional turbulence. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it simply, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This principle of emotional self-control allows you to maintain your dignity and self-respect in even the most challenging situations. When others see you respond with calm and grace, they'll begin to value your presence. They'll long for it, not because you are always there to comfort them, but because your steady, composed nature is a rare and valuable thing. This emotional mastery doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or becoming cold. It means that you recognize your emotions, but don't let them control your actions. You choose how to act in any given moment, and when you do this, people around you begin to respect you more. They'll miss the calm you bring to their lives when you're not there. Your ability to stay grounded in the face of emotional challenges makes your presence feel like a source of stability, and that is something people will always long for. The fourth Stoic principle that will make someone miss you is the art of indifference. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people or that you withdraw emotionally. What it means is that you stop needing others to approve of you or to constantly be present in your life. The Stoics believed that true freedom came when you were indifferent to things that were beyond your control, especially the opinions of others. This detachment from the approval of others is what makes you stand out and, paradoxically, makes others crave your presence. Think about the people in your life who are constantly seeking validation. They're the ones who are always worried about how they look, what others think of them, or whether they're liked. Now, think about the people who don't seek validation at all. They don't worry about the opinions of others because they've found their worth within themselves. There's a certain power in that indifference, a calm confidence that doesn't need constant reassurance. And that power is magnetic. Indifference isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's about understanding that your value doesn't depend on anyone else's perception of you. When you no longer depend on others to make you feel good about yourself, you release yourself from the trap of needing to constantly chase after people or seek their approval. Instead, you simply live as your true self, without the burden of seeking others' validation. This is what makes you alluring. People are drawn to those who don't need them. The Stoic philosopher Zeno once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." By not caring what others think of you, you free yourself from the shackles of needing to be liked or accepted. You become emotionally self-sufficient, not relying on anyone's opinion to affirm your worth. And when you do this, you begin to radiate a sense of confidence and independence that others can't help but notice. People are naturally drawn to those who don't care if they're liked because there's something refreshing about it. They begin to wonder, why isn't this person seeking my approval? What do they know that I don't? That curiosity creates a longing. When you're not constantly seeking attention, you create space for others to miss you when you're not around. It's the absence of need that makes people want to fill that gap with your presence. They'll realize that you don't need them to be happy, but your presence adds something valuable to their lives. And that is why, when you step back, they will begin to miss you. The fifth Stoic principle that helps in making someone miss you is the power of focused attention. In a world full of distractions and constant demands for our time, the ability to focus on what truly matters is a rare and powerful trait. The Stoics knew that in order to live a meaningful and fulfilling life, you must prioritize your attention on what is within your control, on your purpose, and on your own personal growth. When you give your undivided attention to your own growth, goals, and values, you naturally become more attractive to others, not because you're seeking their attention, but because you become a person who commands it. When you focus on what truly matters to you, whether it's your work, your health, your relationships, or your spiritual growth, you start to exude a quiet confidence and a sense of direction. You're not distracted by every passing whim or every person who tries to pull your attention in different directions. Instead, you become someone who knows exactly what they want and is relentlessly pursuing it. People are drawn to this kind of clarity and purpose. There's something magnetic about someone who is deeply focused on their goals and values. It's as if their energy is directed and intentional, and that makes them stand out. In relationships, when you stop constantly seeking attention and validation from others, you start to project an energy that is centered on your own life and purpose. You don't chase people, you simply live your life with purpose, and others are drawn to that energy. They start to notice how focused you are on what you're doing, and that in itself creates a sense of intrigue. People are often most attracted to those who are deeply immersed in something, whether it's a passion, a career, or a cause, because it shows that you're fully engaged in life, not dependent on anyone for fulfillment. The Stoics would advise that we avoid scattering our attention on things that don't serve our higher purpose. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflects on how easy it is to be distracted by the noise of the world. But he reminds himself that true peace comes when we focus on the things that matter and let everything else fall away. When you apply this to relationships, you're no longer at the mercy of someone else's attention or approval. You are fully present in your own life, and this presence makes others take notice. People begin to miss you not because you are constantly present, but because your presence is purposeful and rare. They'll sense that you're not easily distracted and that your attention is something of value. When you make time for someone, it feels like a gift, not an obligation. And when you're not around, They'll miss that focused, intentional energy you bring into their lives. The lesson here is simple. Be so absorbed in your own life and growth that others can't help but want to be a part of it. They'll miss the clarity and purpose you bring into the room. The sixth Stoic principle that will help you make someone miss you is patience. In a world that values instant gratification, patience has become a rare and highly desirable trait. The Stoics understood the power of patience in every aspect of life. It's about accepting that things take time, whether it's personal growth, relationships, or success, and not rushing the process. When you are patient, you allow things to unfold naturally, and that sense of calm and trust in the process is something that draws people in. Patience in relationships doesn't mean waiting endlessly for someone to change or for a situation to improve. Instead, it means giving space for growth, allowing emotions and connections to develop at their own pace. When you practice patience, you're not forcing anything. You're not trying to rush intimacy or push someone to feel a certain way. You allow the other person to come to their own conclusions, to experience their own emotions, and to take their own time in the relationship. This creates a sense of freedom for them, and when people feel free, they naturally begin to appreciate the relationship more. One of the greatest Stoic examples of patience comes from the philosopher Epictetus, who often emphasized the importance of patience in dealing with life's difficulties. He argued that life is not meant to be rushed. We must endure hardship with grace and trust that things will unfold in their own time. In relationships, this means not panicking or becoming anxious when things aren't progressing as quickly as you'd like. It's about understanding that time has its own rhythm, and forcing it can often have the opposite effect. When you're patient, you also create a space where the other person can miss you. People can sense when they're being rushed or pressured, and that pressure tends to push them away. But when you give them the room to breathe, to come to their own realizations, and to develop feelings in their own time, they start to value the connection more deeply. They'll miss you not because you've been constantly available, but because they've had the space to reflect on the significance of your presence in their life. Patience allows for the natural ebb and flow of emotions and connection. It ensures that the relationship doesn't burn out too quickly. Instead, it builds steadily, and over time, the other person begins to realize just how important you are to them. The key to making someone miss you is not rushing the process, but allowing the relationship to develop slowly and steadily. As the Stoics would say, good things come to those who wait, and in relationships, the same holds true. By practicing patience, you're not just showing restraint, you're also allowing the depth and meaning of the connection to grow in a way that will leave the other person missing you when you're not around. The seventh Stoic principle that will help you make someone miss you is living according to virtue. The Stoics believed that a virtuous life was the foundation for everything else. Virtue for them wasn't about grand gestures or external recognition. It was about living in alignment with your highest values: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. When you embody these virtues in your life, you become someone who commands respect, admiration, and ultimately desire. People naturally want to be around those who live with integrity and who stand by their principles. And this sense of respect and admiration is what makes others miss you. Living according to virtue means you do the right thing, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. It's about making choices that align with your values, not with the approval of others or the demands of the moment. When you're consistent in your actions, when you hold yourself to a higher standard, people notice. They might not always say it, but they respect you for it. Virtue doesn't scream for attention, it simply shines through in your actions. It's this quiet strength and authenticity that draws others to you. They are drawn to your character because it offers something rare and deeply valued in today's world. A person who does what is right, not what is easy. Consider the Stoic idea of wisdom. making decisions based on reason, not emotion. When you lead with wisdom, you create a calm, rational presence that others find comforting and inspiring. Wisdom enables you to make decisions that are good for the long term, not just the immediate moment. People are drawn to someone who can see the bigger picture and make choices that reflect deep understanding and insight. Courage is another core Stoic virtue. It's about facing challenges with strength and bravery, not running from discomfort or avoiding difficult situations. When you demonstrate courage in your life, whether it's in your career, your relationships, or your personal growth, others are naturally inspired by your ability to confront adversity with grace. This kind of courage creates a magnetic presence. People admire those who are strong enough to face the difficult parts of life without flinching. Justice, too, is a key virtue in Stoic philosophy. It's about treating others fairly, without bias or selfishness. When you live with justice, you naturally attract people who value fairness and honesty. They will miss the balance and equity you bring to every interaction. Temperance, the final core virtue, is about moderation. Knowing when to say yes and when to say no, controlling your impulses and finding balance in all things. People are drawn to those who live in moderation because they are grounded, reliable, and able to maintain stability in the face of temptation or excess. By living according to virtue, you become someone whose presence commands respect. People are drawn to your integrity, your calm wisdom, your courage in the face of challenges, and your ability to treat others with fairness. And when you embody these virtues consistently, others will begin to miss you when you're not around. They'll realize that what you offer, authenticity, strength, and consistency, is something that can't be easily replaced. They'll long for your presence, not just because of what you do, but because of the person you are. The eighth Stoic principle that will help you make someone miss you is cultivating a strong sense of self. The Stoics placed great importance on knowing oneself, understanding your true nature, your desires, and your purpose in life. When you have a deep understanding of who you are and what you stand for, you become unshakable in the face of external pressure. This clarity and inner strength naturally attract others because people are drawn to those who are confident in their own identity. When you know who you are, you become a beacon of stability and authenticity, and this is exactly what makes others miss you when you're not around. When you understand your own values, your passions, and your goals, you stop relying on others to define you. You no longer need anyone's validation or approval to feel good about yourself. Instead, you draw your strength from within, and that confidence radiates outward. People naturally gravitate toward those who are comfortable in their own skin because they are a reminder that it's possible to be at peace with oneself, no matter what the world throws at you. This strong sense of self is something the Stoics valued deeply. Marcus Aurelius, for instance, regularly reminded himself to return to his true nature, to his higher purpose, regardless of external events. He knew that the only thing he truly controlled was his own thoughts and actions. By focusing inward and being true to himself, he remained steadfast in his purpose, unaffected by the opinions of others. When you embody this same sense of self-awareness, you become someone who is not easily swayed by others. This is incredibly attractive because it makes you a stable, dependable presence in a world that often feels uncertain. Having a strong sense of self also means not being afraid to set boundaries. People who know themselves are able to recognize what serves them and what doesn't. They are clear on their needs and expectations, and they communicate those needs with calm confidence. This creates an aura of respect and admiration. Others appreciate and value people who have the courage to be true to themselves, who don't compromise their values just to please others. When you cultivate this sense of self, you become someone whose presence is powerful not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you stand firm in your own identity. people will be drawn to that strength, that clarity, and that authenticity. And when you're not around, they will miss you, not because you were always trying to please them, but because your true self was something they couldn't easily find elsewhere. Your absence will leave a space that they long to fill, a space that only you can occupy because of the unique strength and authenticity you bring into every room you enter. The ninth Stoic principle that will help you make someone miss you is your relationship with time. The Stoics understood that time is one of our most precious resources, and how we use it speaks volumes about our priorities and values. Time once spent can never be reclaimed, and the Stoics taught that we should live in a way that reflects this deep understanding. When you live with this awareness, your presence becomes more valuable, not just to others, but to yourself. People are naturally drawn to those who respect their own time and the time of others, because it shows that they value what is truly important. This respect for time creates a sense of urgency and importance in relationships, making people miss you when you're not around. When you prioritize your time and focus on meaningful pursuits, whether it's personal growth, your career, or the relationships that truly matter, you project an image of someone who is serious about their life. You're not wasting time on trivial matters, and you're not giving away your time freely to anyone who demands it. This creates a sense of exclusivity. People recognize that your time is valuable, and as a result, they begin to cherish it more. When you're present, you give your full attention, but when you're not, they'll miss that focused energy, that sense of purpose you bring into the room. The Stoics often reflected on the fleeting nature of time. Seneca, in his letters, writes about how we waste much of our lives on distractions and how we often let time slip away without truly living. He argued that to live wisely, we must be aware of the passing of time and use it intentionally. When you live with this awareness, you naturally become more present in each moment, and your presence becomes something people appreciate. They'll notice that you don't waste time with empty chatter or meaningless actions, and they'll long for the moments they can spend with you. Living with this respect for time also means being mindful of how you spend your time with others. When you spend time with someone, you give them your full attention, making them feel valued and important. But when you create space between your interactions, you also give them room to miss you. Time, when spent wisely, becomes a currency that people respect, and when you're not around, they'll begin to realize the worth of your presence. They'll miss the moments spent with you because they understand that your time is something rare, precious, and worth cherishing. In relationships, those who value their time wisely are often the ones who are most missed when they're gone. By respecting your own time, you set the tone for how others treat it, and in turn, how they value your presence. Your absence will make them reflect on the time they had with you, and in doing so, they'll come to appreciate it all the more. The 10th Stoic principle that will help you make someone miss you is letting go of attachment. The Stoics believed that attachment to people, possessions, or outcomes is a source of suffering. When we become too attached to something or someone, we become vulnerable to pain and disappointment. This doesn't mean you should stop caring about people or things. Rather, it means you should learn to release the grip you have on them, allowing them to come and go freely. By practicing non-attachment, you maintain a sense of freedom and peace that others find both intriguing and admirable. When you stop clinging to relationships, you make yourself more attractive because you show that you are not dependent on others for your happiness or fulfillment. Attachment creates dependency, and dependency creates insecurity. When you are too attached to someone's approval or presence, you allow them to hold power over your emotions and sense of self-worth. This neediness can be a turn-off for others because it places pressure on the relationship. On the other hand, when you are able to let go and remain emotionally independent, you become a person who is free, grounded, and unshaken by external forces. This freedom is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to those who are secure in themselves, who don't cling or demand, but simply offer their presence freely and without expectation. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the importance of letting go of attachment. He reminded himself that everything in life is temporary: people, circumstances, and even life itself. By accepting the impermanence of all things, he found a sense of peace and resilience that allowed him to navigate life's challenges with equanimity. When you adopt this mindset, you stop clinging to the idea that any one person or experience can define your happiness. You understand that relationships are valuable, but not essential for your sense of self-worth. When you practice non-attachment, you also create space for others to miss you. People often take for granted the things that are always available to them. But when you let go of the need to constantly be around, you leave an empty space that they will inevitably notice. Absence, when done with grace, becomes a powerful force. It allows others to reflect on your presence and appreciate it in a way they wouldn't have if you were always there, constantly available. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean abandoning others or withdrawing emotionally. It means giving them the space to miss you, to recognize the value you bring into their lives. It means not relying on anyone to complete you, but instead offering your presence as a gift that is freely given, without strings attached. When you can do this, you become someone who others will long for when you're not around, because they recognize that your presence is something they can't take for granted, and that is when they'll truly begin to miss you. The 11th Stoic principle that will help you make someone miss you is the art of walking away. This might sound counterintuitive, but the Stoics understood that there is power in knowing when to step back. The idea is not to avoid confrontation or run from difficult situations, but rather to recognize when a relationship or situation is no longer serving you, or when it has become toxic. By walking away, you demonstrate self-respect and establish boundaries that others will respect as well. This act of walking away, done with dignity and without emotional drama, creates a space that others will come to appreciate and miss. In relationships, there are moments when giving someone space or withdrawing can actually be the most powerful thing you can do. When you're always available, always accommodating, always around, people may begin to take your presence for granted. But when you walk away, whether for a moment or for good, you send a clear message. You value yourself and your time enough to not tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or neglect. This is the kind of person others learn to respect and miss, because they know you are not willing to compromise your worth. The Stoic philosophers often spoke about the importance of recognizing when to withdraw. Seneca, in his writings, warned against overcommitting ourselves to situations that drain us or cause us unnecessary suffering. He advised that we should not be afraid to walk away from people, relationships, or circumstances that no longer align with our values or that diminish our peace of mind. This isn't about running away from problems, but about recognizing when the cost of staying in a situation outweighs the benefits. When you walk away from a relationship or a situation with grace and composure, you don't only preserve your own dignity, you also give the other person the chance to realize what they have lost. Absence creates longing. When someone feels your absence, they begin to reflect on the value of your presence in their life. Walking away allows them the space to understand your worth, and in many cases, it's in this space that they start to miss you. They may begin to regret taking you for granted or realize how important you were to their life in ways they hadn't fully appreciated before. This act of walking away is not an act of rejection, but of self-respect. It's a recognition that you will not settle for less than you deserve and that you are willing to let go in order to preserve your peace and well-being. People are drawn to this confidence, and they will begin to miss the person who had the strength to walk away when the time was right. When you do so, you not only protect your own emotional health, but also create an air of mystery and value that makes your presence in their lives all the more precious. The 12th Stoic principle that will help you make someone miss you is the appeal of a challenge. Stoic philosophy teaches that we should seek to grow, improve, and confront life with strength and purpose. In relationships, creating a sense of challenge doesn't mean being difficult or playing games. It means maintaining a certain level of mystery, independence, and self-respect that invites others to pursue and appreciate you more. When you offer yourself as a challenge, you don't make it easy for others to take you for granted. Instead, you create an air of intrigue and respect that others can't help but be drawn to. People are naturally attracted to things that are not easily attained. If something is too easy to get, it loses value. This principle applies to relationships as well. When you make yourself too available, too predictable, or too eager to please, you lose that sense of challenge that sparks interest and desire. On the other hand, when you maintain your independence, pursue your own goals, and don't fall into the trap of being overly accommodating, you create a natural sense of challenge. This challenge isn't about playing hard to get. It's about respecting yourself enough to not make it too easy for anyone to enter your life without truly valuing you. The Stoics taught that we should not become overly dependent on others, nor should we ever sacrifice our own integrity or goals for the sake of another. In relationships, this means being someone who has their own purpose and vision, and not allowing your identity to be wrapped up solely in the other person. When you are secure in your own path, others see you as someone who is not easily swayed or manipulated. You are a challenge because you have something of your own, something they need to earn, and that makes you valuable in their eyes. Think of the way great leaders or figures from history have been perceived, often admired and even adored because they stood firm in their values, their actions, and their independence. They were not easily swayed by the desires of others. People longed for their approval, their company, because those individuals were not simple to attain. They were strong, resolute, and dedicated to their own journey. When you embody this same sense of challenge, others will naturally be drawn to you. They'll want to prove themselves worthy of your time, attention, and affection. By maintaining your sense of self and purpose, you create a dynamic where others must rise to meet you. You become someone who isn't easily won over, which increases your value in the eyes of others. And when they sense that challenge, that you are someone who is independent, grounded, and secure in your own path, they'll begin to miss you when you're not around. Your absence will create a void because they realize how much they value your presence, your unique energy, and the challenge of being in your life. They'll miss the pursuit, the opportunity to prove themselves worthy, and that sense of intrigue you bring into their world. The 13th Stoic principle that will help you make someone miss you is the effect of silence and absence. The Stoics believed in the power of quiet reflection and the value of not overindulging in words or actions. Silence doesn't just mean not speaking, it means creating space for reflection, allowing the moment to breathe and giving others the time to appreciate what they have before it's gone. In relationships, silence and absence can be incredibly powerful tools. When you are not always available or constantly present, you allow others to experience the absence of your presence, which creates a sense of longing and appreciation. Too often, we feel compelled to fill every space, every conversation, and every interaction. But the Stoics understood that true power lies in knowing when to be silent, when to withdraw, and when to let things unfold naturally. By choosing your moments carefully, by knowing when to step back, you allow people the time to realize the significance of your presence. The absence you create, whether for a brief moment or a longer period, gives others the space to miss you. It's not in being constantly around that you create longing. It's in your absence that others begin to recognize how much they value what you bring into their lives. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often spoke of the importance of quiet contemplation and the value of solitude. He understood that constant activity and noise can distract us from what truly matters, and sometimes stepping away is the best way to understand our own thoughts and emotions. When you practice this in relationships, you stop overwhelming others with your presence, allowing them to come to terms with the fact that you're not always going to be there. This gives them the opportunity to reflect on how much they enjoy your company, your perspective, and your energy. When you create space through silence and absence, you make your return something to look forward to. Your absence isn't a sign of rejection. It's an invitation for others to reflect on the value you bring. It creates a natural desire to reconnect, to close the distance, and to fill the void that has been created in your absence. People will miss you not because you are always available, but because when you are present, you bring something unique and valuable that they begin to appreciate only when it's not there. By learning the art of silence and absence, you practice the Stoic virtue of restraint. You don't need to constantly fill the space with noise or presence to be appreciated. Instead, you allow people the space to realize how much they miss you when you're not around. This creates a dynamic where your presence becomes something people look forward to, something they long for, and ultimately, something they will miss when you're gone. If you found these Stoic principles helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe and check out the next video on how to master self-control and emotional intelligence in relationships.